Aloha Friday. Today's card clip is one I want to do on fathers. A while ago I did a post on motherhood, but I realized that my mothering has been boosted by a man I call the father of my children. And I've seen on Facebook the Fatherhood Challenge, where you post a picture of something that reminds you of how wonderful it is to be a father. And so today's card clip is dedicated to fathers. Just this past conference, I love listening to Elder Christofferson, and he gave a wonderful talk on fatherhood, but it made me realize that I often take for granted the men in my life that I deem fathers, that I call fathers. A good father really is one of the most unsung, unappreciated, unnoticed people in our lives, and yet they're one of the most valuable assets in our lives today. And so I wanted to give props to all the men in my life who are fathers, and thank them for all that they do. I think of my own father and his sacrifices for his stubborn, hard-headed daughter. The best gift that my father ever gave to me was the gift of believing in me. He always felt that I had great potential and treated me such. He knew that I was destined for great things and tried to build that in me and help me to believe that while he isn't very affectionate or very vocal, it was always evident in the little things. I'll never forget when I graduated from high school. I graduated as valedictorian, and everyone was holding graduation parties. And I knew that we were too poor and we were saving up money so that I could go to college. But I came home after all the hoopla was done, and on a plate in the kitchen was a hakaufi, or plate of yams, and a plate of tukumisi, or sea urchins. I knew we couldn't afford it, but I'll never forget. That meal was fit for a king. It was a priceless gift to me. I always looked to my father for his wisdom and tried to share that with my children so that they are also able to look to him. He's got wonderful years of experience, a profound faith in God, and has been an incredible father to all eight of us kids. I look to my friends who are fathers, and I'm so impressed by the way that they rise to the role. They invest time, they work hard, they make memories, they try to provide and protect, and that is amazing. I need to do better at celebrating them and thanking them for their influence too. I look at my own husband and I marvel at his fatherhood. When we met, he married into a ready-made family. And we've had to work out quite a few kinks, but I admire so much that he was never threatened from the very beginning in having to raise another man's children. It could have been awkward, but since day one, he's never been divisive and has always been inclusive. So many times he's taught me that fatherhood requires love, not DNA. And he's the wonderful example of that. I appreciate that his motive has always been love, unconditional love. I get all the attention and the thank yous and the appreciation, but he's been the one that stayed up late at night. He's been the one that cries like a baby when something great happens to one of his babies. He's fiercely protective. He's the one who's always been rooting. He's tough love, but he really has had the courage to not only have the kids, but to raise them as well. And I appreciate that. So many times we neglect to make a big fuss over the men in our lives, but nothing makes me love him as much as knowing that the best thing that he can do for our children is to love their mother. And because he's a remarkable father, he pretty much guarantees that our children will have permanent armor for the rest of their lives. That's important for my daughters. And he definitely will be the standard against which they will judge all men. The appeal of his fatherhood is that, he raises the bar for our daughters. And then my son understands how important it is to follow his example. You can preach all you want, but he's going to watch Chris and how Chris is a father and try to follow that and emulate that. We're not perfect at all, but I love that Chris appreciates the role of father. Today, the appeal of fatherhood is that it will irrevocably bind you to those you call your children. Today, sex is basically an exchange of pleasantries. Marriage can be reversed instantly, but fatherhood's real. Fatherhood's eternal. Fatherhood is not flawless and not perfect, but I think one of the most priceless gifts we can give to our children is to allow our fathers to step up in that role. And I appreciate that while Chris is not a perfect father, he tries, and his commitment to our family, his well-being and our happiness, our well-being and our happiness and safety is top priority to him. In speaking to our daughters about his fatherhood, he said it best. I'm always going to be in front of you, so that you know that I'm cheering you on, and then behind you so that you know I always have your back, and then next to you so that no matter what, you know that you're never alone. I've never loved Chris more than watching him lead our family in love and righteousness. Then to watch him as the father in our YSA ward, it is so special. Good fathers are unique and irreplaceable, and their callings are eternal. I admire the fathers who do their best, the single dads who wear both hats, the brothers, the uncles, the grandfathers, all of you who are influencers and game changers, and who wear that role to provide and protect with pride. What you do is so important and is so needed and should never go unnoticed or unappreciated. And so to you, fathers, let me thank you. To the fathers, the father figures, the mother mans, and all the men in our lives. Props to you. Thank you for all that you do. We love you. We appreciate you. You make it all worth it. Thank you.